Hello, welcome to The World Today. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Here are the stories that will be coming up within the half hour. Nigerian soldiers receive a morale boost as Nigeria's president, Bola Tinubu, announces an increase up to 80% for salaries of junior soldiers. Man arrested with a pistol and illegal ammunition near a golf course owned by U.S. President Donald Trump. Plus, the World Health Organization calls for more support to tackle the Ebola outbreak in Africa. Let's begin The World Today. Hey, thanks for staying with us again. Starting September 1st, 2026, about 250,000 personnel of the Nigerian Armed Forces will be going home with an approved salary increase of 30 to 80%. The aim is to boost troop morale and reward soldiers fighting security threats across the country. According to a statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, personnel from colonel down to warrant officer will have a 50% increase, while private to staff sergeants will have an 80% increase. The pay package will increase the yearly salary bill for the country's armed forces personnel from 660 billion naira to 924 billion naira. President Bola Tinubu has always praised the courage and sacrifices of members of the armed forces, according to Mr. Ononuga, as they confront the scourge of banditry, kidnapping and terrorism in some parts of the country. Staying with Nigeria, the High Commissioner to Sierra Leone, Ambassador Ayo Luther Ogbomode, has attended the opening ceremony of the maiden Nigeria Chamber of Commerce Trade Fair in Freetown, Sierra Leone. The event was officially declared open by Sierra Leone's Minister of Trade and Industry, Alpha Cisse, who highlighted the shared commitment of both countries to promoting trade, investment and private sector development. The trade fair provides a platform to showcase Nigerian products and services, foster commercial partnerships and strengthen economic and bilateral ties between Nigeria and Sierra Leone. Let's head to the Middle East now. Israeli and Lebanese delegations have left the U.S. Embassy in Rome after the second day of U.S. brokered talks aimed at easing tensions along their shared border. The latest round of talks follow a U.S. brokered framework agreement reached in June, under which Israel and Lebanon agreed to begin implementing pilot zones in southern Lebanon. The proposal envisages a phased Israeli troop withdrawal from selected areas, the deployment of Lebanese armed forces, and discussions on removing armed groups from those zones. U.S. officials say the Rome talks made further progress towards implementing the agreement. Previous negotiations resulted in an agreement for Israel to begin withdrawing its forces from two towns in southern Lebanon as part of the phased plan. While both governments have expressed support for continuing negotiations, Hezbollah has rejected the framework, saying it will not accept any agreement with Israel. Meanwhile, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel has not agreed to the Board of Peace's Hamas disarmament plan, which was accepted by the terror group last week, reiterating comments made from recent days attributed to senior Israeli officials. Prime Minister Netanyahu said in a video posted to Facebook that Israel will not withdraw from its current lines in Gaza until Hamas is completely disarmed. This would appear to go against the disarmament plan, which requires Israel to pull back to the original yellow line in Gaza. Israel withdrew to that line as part of the October 2025 ceasefire hostage release deal with Hamas, but has since expanded its control of the strip from 53% to over 60%. And while the Board of Peace indicated that Israel would not have to carry out withdrawals beyond the original yellow line until Hamas at least begins to hand over its weapons, Netanyahu asserted that Israeli forces will not move at all as his election campaign kicks into gear. While the Board of Peace indicated that Israel would not have to carry out withdrawals beyond the original yellow line until Hamas at least begins to hand over its weapons, Netanyahu asserted that Israeli forces will not move at all as his election campaign kicks off. This will be Netanyahu's first time commenting on the matter. We're in the United States now as Californian authorities arrest a man who was seen near a golf course owned by President Donald Trump in the Los Angeles area ahead of the president's visit for a fundraising dinner there. Investigators say 38-year-old Janine John Tail was found with a pistol and illegal ammunition at the Trump National Golf Course in Rancho Palos Verdes. According to the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, he was observed walking throughout the golf course grounds, taking photographs and videos, and appearing to monitor security planning activities. The arrest took place on Sunday afternoon. Trump is currently visiting California to attend a Republican Party fundraising dinner at the course on Tuesday. Tail is being held on charges of carrying a concealed firearm and possession of armor-piercing prohibited ammunition. In the United States, which has revoked the visa of Brazil's ambassador to Washington, marking another escalation in diplomatic tensions between the two countries ahead of Brazil's election. Maria Luisa Ribeiro Vioti's visa cancellation comes after the Brazilian government denied visas to two U.S. State Department officials who wanted to visit Brazil last month. Brazil's President, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, accused the officials of wanting to meddle in Brazil's elections, an allegation the U.S. calls baseless. The officials in the United States said the decision does not mean Brazil's ambassador is being expelled from the U.S. The State Department said it was a reciprocal action. The State Department also said that they communicated continually with the Brazilian government for weeks and have given the government every opportunity to do the right thing, they said. Yet they have continually delayed and obfuscated. The department said while this action does not mean Viotti is banned from the United States, additional diplomatic options remain on the table. Looking at weather reports now, 700 homes, businesses, and other buildings at least have been destroyed by 3 wind-driven wildfires tearing through the Spokane area in Washington state, forcing more than 67,000 people to evacuate. The Old Trails, Autumn Lane, and Fairview fires erupted on Saturday and were brought together under the Spokane complex. Now, by Tuesday, they'd burnt more than 10,000 acres across Spokane and Stevens counties. Strong winds, extreme heat, and drought-parched vegetation drove the flames into residential neighborhoods. The Old Trails fire, the largest and most destructive of the 3, crossed the Spokane River, swept through communities northwest of the city. Some evacuation orders were later reduced as residents began returning to find entire properties destroyed. Authorities alleged the Old Trails fire was deliberately started. 37-year-old Aaron Farinacci has been charged with first-degree arson and is being held on bail of $1 million. Spokane County Sheriff John Knowles said a witness reported seeing Farinacci behaving suspiciously near the point where the fire began. Investigators later found that the suspected origin matched the location described by the witness. Farinacci was carrying waterproof matches and a butane lighter when he was detained, according to the sheriff. Fast-moving fire, this time in California, tearing through the Calaveras County, swelling to 6,495 acres and forcing residents near Valley Springs and New Hogan Lake to evacuate. The Gann fire began near Hogan Dam Road and Gann Road on Monday before racing through dry grass, brush, and oak woodland. By Tuesday evening, it had burnt around 2,628 hectares and remained 0% contained. Evacuation orders covered 6 zones, while residents in 4 neighboring zones were warned to prepare to leave. Shelters were opened in Valley Springs for residents and small pets at the Calaveras County Fairgrounds. for larger animals. Calaveras County Sheriff Rochelle Whiten declared a local state of emergency, allowing the county to seek additional resources from state agencies. More than 250 personnel were assigned to the fire, supported by 50 engines, 8 water tenders, 4 helicopters, 16 bulldozers, and 16 hand crews. Air tankers also carried out suppression missions as conditions allowed. It's been hot in the United States, but also in Europe. After enduring several extreme heat waves this summer, the continent is facing another consequence of climate change these days. Rivers across the continent carrying little water, and it's creating massive problems for several industries. Lars Halters with Deutsche Welle. He joins me from Berlin. Lars, great to see you. What's the latest on the water levels?
Unfortunately, the latest is that things are just getting worse. We've seen low water levels in some of Europe's biggest and most important rivers for a few weeks now. But as we're dealing with heat wave after heat wave, and as we haven't had any major rainfall at all, the rivers are just drying up at a pace we haven't seen in previous years, because we've obviously had droughts here before, or a dry spell at least. We've had low levels of water in rivers, and sometimes we've had a way too low levels. However, that usually happened around the end of summer, maybe towards fall. And this year, we're seeing rivers drop to absolutely critical levels, and in many cases below these levels way too early. Two of the most watched levels, as a matter of fact, are the Rhine in Cologne, where they've just seen a historic low. And it's the same in Duisburg, at the heart of the coal and steel country, where the level was taken in the Ruhr River just before it flows into the Rhine.
That can't be good, Lars. What's the impact on the economy?
The low water levels really impact a whole lot of industries. As a matter of fact, I just ran into a colleague here at work who told me that he's taken a river cruise up the Rhine in a week or two. And as he told me, we both knew that that trip might not happen after all. So tourism is definitely affected by the drought. But that's far from the worst consequences we're seeing. More important than tourism is, of course, shipping and logistics. Among the commodities transported on the Rhine in particular are stone and earth, building materials, ores, coal, as well as also liquid petroleum products, chemicals, and they're currently going on barges that can often carry only half their usual load. So transport costs are already rising due to the distribution of cargo across multiple vessels now. Oh, and then there's energy, of course. France had to shut down 3 nuclear power plants almost a month ago already because the adjacent river didn't provide enough water for cooling. And now power plants in Romania and Hungary were also shut down for the same reason. In Hungary, those plants provide a third of the country's energy supply.
So what is the government doing to alleviate the situation?
Right now, they're putting together a task force to deal with all the problems the industry has, including providing additional port storage capacity for hazardous goods, extra rail capacity. That, as it's pretty clear, they can't currently solve the problem, but only deal with it. Other than that, there's a broad understanding that not all too much can actually be done, because we're dealing with the long-term effect of climate change. Here's the gist of it. Climate change has not only led to hotter days with more water evaporating, but also to melting glaciers in the Alps and in other mountain ranges, which again leads to less water being stored there to melt away in spring and fill up the rivers going north later in the year. So as the planet heats up, we'll likely see more droughts and experience more problems rather than less, and there aren't any short-term solutions available.
Well, Lars, thanks again for bringing us this explainer. We're off on a short break on The World Today, still ahead. Well, they're global now. Speaking of Uganda's ghetto kids returning to the country following their world debut at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Stay with us. Welcome back to The World Today. Downing Street has denied reports that Prime Minister Andy Burnham is actively considering a public inquiry into the UK activities of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. But that statement follows comments by victims Minister Alex Davis-Jones, who said the Prime Minister was looking into the possibility of an inquiry into the alleged action of Epstein and former Harrods owner Mohammed Al-Fayed. Davis-Jones also said the Prime Minister had agreed to meet with Epstein's victims, while news media understands Burnham is considering whether to meet the survivors personally. Davis-Jones resigned from former Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government in May, later accusing the administration of failing to listen to Epstein's survivors. She was reappointed as Victims Minister when Burnham took office recently. At least 21 people have been killed after Russia launched a wave of ballistic missiles and drone attacks on Kyiv. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has condemned the strikes, saying air defense interceptors would have saved lives. Ukraine, which has repeatedly urged allies to provide more US-made Patriot missile interceptors to defend against Russian ballistic attacks, said it did not intercept any of the ballistic missiles launched in the overnight assault. President Zelensky adds that delays in receiving anti-ballistic systems from partners have led to horrific casualties and destruction. He also says supplies of interceptor missiles from allies have been significantly reduced this year. A Mexican influencer, Cesar Gastelum, has been shot dead while live streaming on TikTok. According to reports, Gastelum was filming with two friends outside a fast food restaurant in Tres Rios in the northern city of Culiacan when two men on a motorbike approached. One of the attackers then shot at him at close range. Gastelum had more than 500,000 followers on TikTok, where he was best known for posting comedy videos. It's not the first time a social media influencer has been killed in Mexico. Just last year, 23-year-old Valeria Marquez was shot dead at a beauty salon while live streaming on TikTok. Police and forensic experts cordoned off the area, and they are examining cartridge casings and CCTV footage for clues. Meanwhile, there have been no arrests, and two suspects on the motorbike reportedly fled the scene. To the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the World Health Organization saying more support is needed to combat the outbreak, which continues to outpace response efforts. Reports say the outbreak is the biggest ever to hit the DRC, despite being declared less than 3 months ago. The latest government figures show 3,802 confirmed cases and 1,707 deaths. The outbreak is largely concentrated in eastern DRC's remote Ituri province, which accounts for nearly 90% of cases. However, infections have also been confirmed in 5 other provinces. While there are no approved vaccines or treatments, 2 clinical trials for post-exposure drugs are underway in Ituri province, alongside 2 separate vaccine trials in the United Kingdom and in Canada. Anti-illegal migration protests in South Africa have sparked a national debate over immigration, law enforcement and border security. And beyond these issues, there are growing concerns about the economic impact of the protests, which have disrupted businesses and affected consumer confidence, prompting debate over whether the demonstrations could undermine regional economic integration under the African Continental Free Trade Area. Here's a report by our correspondent Innocent Amosa, who spoke to a Nigerian farmer who's experienced the impact firsthand.
Meet DG Adekele, a Nigerian farmer and recycling entrepreneur based in Pretoria, South Africa. For years, he has supplied fresh produce to local markets and built a business. But the recent anti-illegal migration protests have brought new uncertainty, disrupting business operations and affecting customer activity.
The farming side, for our customers, they obviously have witnessed a reduced market. We have some customers in Cape Town who actually told me they had to close their restaurant for about a week. Also, the market has been slow. I think the morale is also very low. So one way or the other, it definitely has affected our production on the agricultural side.
While the demonstration have largely focused on immigration, DG says the economic impact is also being felt by entrepreneurs like him.
Oh, certainly. Our production had to slow down because of this. We were also a bit lucky because this is a winter period, so usually businesses, this is like our off season. So it wasn't too bad, but obviously this has affected a lot of businesses, has affected a lot of our buyers.
His colleague Munya Jan van Reinsberg argues that migration is economically vital to South Africa, saying immigrants are not a burden, but a net asset to the country's economy.
This is people that's really willing to work hard. They've got effort, they've got energy, they're strong, they not have nitty-gritties. If you give them a work, they will always show you they can do it better. They never come with an issue, they don't come with excuses, they work really, really hard. Foreigners in South Africa is making it worthwhile when it comes to your business.
She says South Africans can learn a lot from migrants.
Yes, 100%. I'm myself as a South African, and if I can see between the South African workers, between the foreigner workers, I can say that the foreigners has really got something to teach the South Africans where it comes to work.
Migration remains one of Africa's most pressing challenges, with thousands of people leaving their home countries each year in search of safety, opportunity, and a better future. While migration is often, of course, viewed as a crisis, some commentators argue the focus now should shift towards addressing its root causes and create safe, legal, and orderly pathways for people on the move. From Pretoria, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
Oh, we're still in Africa, and as you heard in the background, the theme song for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and that's because these ghetto kids performed alongside world music stars Shakira and Burna Boy. Well, they finally returned to Kampala recently to celebrate with other people in the country. They were given something close to a hero's welcome for their feats, being the first to perform on the world stage at the FIFA World Cup. Founder of the group, Dauda Kavuma, says global exposure will create lasting opportunities for the children, saying the group founded to support youngsters from Kampala's disadvantaged communities. The Ghetto Kids have grown into one of the country's best-known dance groups. Well, the Ghetto Kids first featured in the official music video for Shakira and Burna Boy at the World Cup anthem, Die Die, before joining Shakira on stage on the last day of the World Cup at the final halftime show.
It was a dream come true because that was our first time to dance at the FIFA World Cup finals, and we are really, really, really good to dance with Shakira at the FIFA World Cup. And it felt good to dance with Shakira at the FIFA World Cup because we are the first Ugandans to perform at the FIFA World Cup.
It's really a big inspiration, no? That the ghetto kids are young, they are underage. It shows that never lose hope, never give up. No matter which situation you are in, no matter which family you are grown up in, you can make it to the entire world. So, kids over there, just believe in yourself, good big kids, love your talent. Always God is there for you.
It will change their lives because it opens a lot of doors for these children. There are very many, there were billions of people who are watching. So there were, among those people who are watching, there were musicians, there were artists, there were film actors. So there were a lot of people. So it opens a lot of chances for these children.
Really hoping that those doors open for the ghetto kids. That's it on The World Today. Just a reminder here for our viewers on the DSTV platform, In Place of Sports News is a documentary on Imo State. But for our viewers on the other platforms, Sports News is up next.